Welcome, listeners, to episode 35 of the Running Guide podcast, where I aim to provide informative content and interviews with elite athletes and health professionals around the world, like in today's episode, where I'm chatting to an Adelaide girl who has now returned home after a very successful 5 years within the US college scholarship system and is now gaining the attention of the Australian running community with some very impressive performances over the shortened summer track season. Welcome to the Running Guide podcast, Izzi Batt-Doyle. How you going, Izzi?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
It's fantastic. Good to have you on the show. Saturday afternoon here. You would have laced up this morning. How'd that go?
Yeah, I went out for an easy run, Saturday easy run, just 14 Ks, and did my gym session today at home as well. Was a bit lazy yesterday and didn't quite fit that one in on my Friday, so I had to make that one up today too.
Yeah, cool. We're getting smacked with some, New South Wales getting smacked with some heavy rainfalls. So you guys wouldn't be getting that over there?
No, it's actually beautiful weather here today. It's sunny. I think it's about 30 degrees actually. It's perfect running conditions this morning.
Yeah, 30. Okay, yeah, right, yeah. It was pretty mild Australian summer this year. You wouldn't have got too many 40s over there in Adelaide that you normally would have?
Yeah, no, it's been pretty mild. I feel like we never really got that hot weather that we're probably used to getting. And I felt like it was maybe coming later in the year, but yeah, we're ticking into end of March and it still hasn't been that hot. So I think we just had pretty mild summer, but can't complain. I mean, it makes it easier for training, not having to really worry about, going out really early and trying to get things done before it gets too hot. Had a couple of early long runs with just, maybe 35, 36 degrees, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. I don't think we're complaining here in Canberra either. We actually had a lot of humidity, which was fantastic. I don't mind training in the humidity. It's not great to race in, but normally when I head up to Sydney.
Yeah, last weekend in Sydney was pretty humid and tough in the race. Didn't quite enjoy that one quite as much.
Yeah, for sure. I normally head up there quite often. I'm from the Northern Beaches, and I normally just get smacked around with the humidity because. Yeah, we had it here in Canberra, which was fantastic, and and lots of rain, and we're getting a lot of it again now. So it's about to hit us. It's already come through Sydney and Wollongong. So I think another Sunday morning soggy long run is ahead of me. It's all good.
Sounds a bit of fun. Yeah, last weekend I had almost 2 hours absolutely drenched in Sydney, and it was that kind of drenched, but also a bit humid weather, and just feel completely soaked, and so makes it pretty tough.
Yeah, we actually had a half marathon here last Sunday, and we pretty much needed flippers on. It was just the rain was so heavy, and the bike path was sort of underwater. But it was interesting. I think when you're racing, you tend to try to forget about that sort of stuff. But so it's good. It's good to have the rain. Look, can't complain. It's an outdoor sport. You take it.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. Like, nothing's ever really going to be cancelled on race day unless it's like totally extreme weather. So you have to get used to training in anything because you can get anything on race day.
Yeah. As long as it's not freezing cold when I'm training, I don't mind it too much.
Actually, I've got a guy in the group that we coach he was living in Adelaide, but now he's moved, and he did the half marathon in Canberra last weekend, and I did hear about it being quite a wet one.
You've had a great journey so far with all the ups and downs that unfortunately most runners sort of endure. As you know, if you can sort of hang in there and ride it out, you generally come out the other side a bit stronger, determined, and a bit wiser, which is clearly what seems to be marrying up with what you're doing at the moment on the road and the track. So that's obviously a pretty good outcome for yourself personally, but all of us lovers of Australian running, it's great to see how it's all unfolded. Now we're going to work through it all. There's a lot to go through, but let's kick off with your PBs, jumping straight to the 1500 meter over there in Portland, Oregon. So that was 15th of June 2018. You ran a 4:17.80. Tell us about what you can remember about that one.
Yeah, 1500s. Haven't done a lot of them, and that was the last one I've done since then. So haven't done one for almost 4 years. But I was coming back from injury. I'd broken 4 bones in my left foot and taken almost 4 months off running, and just jumping in the back of the season, I had to miss the NCAA track season, and then there are a couple of kind of just meets at the end of the season for people to jump in, and I did a 5K and then a 1500 and run a PB in the 5K and then the 1500 the next week. really good races at Portland they put on. So I was really happy just to have the opportunity to race, especially after injury. And yeah, to run a PB, I was stoked. 4:17, I was really happy with. To not be a 1500 meter runner as such, more of a 10k 5k runner. I felt that was a pretty good time to put out. I would like to have another crack sometime soon, because I think I can get under that 4:15 mark now, which would be kind of cool to do. I was kind of in between coaches at the time because of the stuff going in America at my college, and my parents flew over to watch me, and they were doing a half marathon the next morning. And I said to Mum, I'll jump in with you for the half, and just run with you. I won't race it. And so I did the 1500, at 8:30 that night, and then the next morning got up and jumped in this half marathon. And I got a bit competitive with the guys out the front, and I ended up running, I think, 1:18 and winning it. So, backed up next morning for a half. But yeah, good fun.
Yeah, nice one. All right, let's move to the 3,000 metres. Over there in Seattle, 23rd of April 2017, you ran 9:25.89.
Yeah, the 3K is not one that we run that often outdoors. Yep. So do a lot of indoor running, and I think my indoor PB is 9:09. But outdoors, that was just a race I had to win for points, and more of a training run. I'm pretty keen to give that a crack. I'm running a 3K in a couple of weeks at the state championships here in SA, and I hope to have a big PB there.
Yeah, for sure. And well, you're certainly moving well, so it's certainly on the cards. 3,000 metre steeplechase.
Yeah.
10:02 even over there in Eugene, Oregon, 9th of April 2016.
Yeah, so I was a steeplechaser. I actually went to college for steeplechase. I ran 10:24 and came second at the Australian Junior Nationals. Had a bit of a kerfuffle, but I was thought I was going to make World Juniors. Didn't get picked for the team in the end, which was a bit sad for me at the time. But never mind. Went over to the States to run steeplechase over there, and lowered my time down to 10:02 in my second year in college. But I was finding I was getting quite injured from the steeple, and so I didn't continue on steeple. I started just to run flat races for the rest of my collegiate career, and haven't jumped back into steeple yet. Not sure that I plan on doing that one again. Might have to stay at 10:02.
That's not a bad time though, is it?
Yeah, not too bad. Actually, it's a state record, so I'll take it.
There you go. Maybe jump in if someone takes it from you. All right, 5,000 metres. Just recently, 2nd of March down there at Box Hill, 15:11.07. That was a great race. Obviously, there's bittersweet there, but chat about that one. Yeah,
I think that's it. Bittersweet, but really, I'm absolutely stoked with that time. And going into the race, my PB was 15:26. I'd run that in December on my own here in SA. I knew I was in PB shape. I really wanted to break my PB, which would be another state record. And I was thinking around that 15:20 mark was realistic for me. I thought the 15:10 was a little bit pushing it. I see myself more as a 10K runner, so I'm not sure I felt confident enough to really go out at that pace. But the race, went out hot, and I was kind of on my own and ended up being in the lead, and only 3 people finishing the race. And it was an absolutely bizarre race to be in, but I'm really proud of the way I raced, and felt really good on the night, and was able to just wind it up. And I didn't even realize how close I was coming to closing in that time. Rewatching it now, it's oh my gosh, so close. But to get 15:11, I'm absolutely so happy with that. And to think that 4 years ago that would have been 10 seconds within the qualifier, it just shows, I guess, it's a great time, and I got to be pleased with that. And hopefully I can improve on that soon and get under that 15:10 mark.
Yeah, for sure. You obviously don't mind running out front. Is that something you've done for many years, or?
Yeah, I think in college, I had to practice that because it was just the way that I was going to do well at races and win races over there. So I did practice that quite a bit in my last 6 months at Washington, and I do feel quite comfortable at the front. I feel more in control and able to kind of dictate the race. I'm not sure it was the smartest way for me to race last weekend in Sydney. I learned a lot from that race, and I'll put that into practice in the future for sure.
In case we don't get a chance to talk about, is that because you feel you don't have a big 200 metre kick and you're trying to run the legs off your competitors? Is that what it's sort of about?
Well, yeah, I think that I see myself more as an endurance runner, and the way I've run 10Ks in the past is kind of really squeezing down from 8 laps to go, 6 laps to go, 4 laps to go, kind of thing, rather than just waiting for a sprint finish. And as we saw at Zatopek, like I was running fast that last lap, but someone was faster. Rose was faster over 200. So yeah, I feel that for me, I need to be closing in a bit sooner than the last 200 or last lap. But I think also looking at it now, I probably need to be more confident in my close, because I saw like I ran a 66-second last lap. I still had a really good finish and was able to pass some really good girls in the race in Sydney last weekend. So I think, I need to be more confident in my close and maybe be a little more patient rather than always wanting to kind of like stay at the front and push the pace.
Yeah, you don't want the girls always thinking, oh, don't worry, Izzy will take the front when she needs to sit on.
I really became the pacer for that race. So, not sure. It probably played into my favour so well.
Oh, it will in the future. 10,000 metres, as you mentioned, down there in Zatopek, again at Box Hill, Australia Day. 31:43:26. Great race to watch.
Yeah. And with that one, like I think for quite a few weeks, I felt that I was in 31:45 shape. That's kind of what I was saying. I was a little bit, when I heard that they were going to go out at 31:25, I really knew I had to be on the back end of that pace, because it was going to be quite aggressive for me. And that's why in that race, I really hung back and was pretty patient, just on the back of that train, really, because that was how I had to run it. Like I couldn't have gone any faster. I was feeling it at 74s, 75 at the start of the race. So that was pretty much what I thought I was capable of running. I'm really glad that I was able to do that, because previously I'd run 32:13 I'd won a race here in SA. Felt that I was capable of going faster in a good field. So I'm glad it came together on the day, but I think there's definitely more in the tank there too.
Sure. So that was your first sub 32 on the track?
It was, first sub 32. I ran 32:10 at Launceston on the roads in December.
Fantastic. All right. Now, talking of the roads, the Road 5K, this is an old one, so obviously it hasn't been updated because it's back 2014 and 17, 10. I mean, you could do that on one leg at the moment. So
I think I went through, I've gone through 16, 10 and the 5K on the road. It's funny. I think my 800 PB on there is still 218 from like 2018 or 2012.
Yeah, that's why I skipped to the 1500.
I'd like to have a bit of a bust too.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's talk about that 10K down there in Lornie, the 32:10 in December last year.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, for me, it was probably the first time that I've actually raced against, really the top crop of female distance runners in in Australia. And that was really exciting for me, because I'd been running quite well here in SA and, winning races over here. And I was really keen to get a domestic race in where I had some different competition, different people to line up against. And only a couple of weeks before the race, the borders were closed from SA to Tasmania. So it looked like I wasn't going to get there. And I was really disappointed to feel like I was going to miss that opportunity. So when a week before the borders opened, I was able to go. It was so exciting to feel like, wow, like I'm so happy to have this opportunity. And I think I really saw that race as just like a great opportunity, and I was so excited to race. And I really I'm proud that I made the most of it and had a good race there. And it was the last K, it was like 6 or 7 women, and anyone could have won it really. We were all still pretty close together with a K to go. So to come third there to Jen and Rose, I was really happy. But it was a pretty close finish. I think Jen was like 32 flat, Rose was like 32.04 or something, and I was like 32.10 or 32.08. So it was pretty close finish.
For the running community, it was just fantastic to see that it was going to go ahead, and the depth. The good quality live streams we get these days. So
how good it's been this year. It's so good.
It's been really good, and sign of good things to come for sure.
I think everyone was really just super grateful for the opportunity to race for the launch section. So it was good vibes all around. Like everyone was just like so excited to be there.
It seemed that way. Everyone was just like, how good is this to be back out racing, and especially knowing you're going to get a chance to run really fast as well. So it's definitely great. All right, let's head back to the kiddie days. bit of history here. So you're one of 4 children, you being the youngest, that's right?
Yeah, I've got one sister and a bunch of step siblings. But yeah.
Okay. All right, yeah. And as you mentioned before, your folks ran that half, but they were into running marathons when you were growing up?
Yeah, my parents have both been doing like marathons, half marathons throughout my childhood. So yeah, I guess I've always kind of been around running and active people, which has been good to see.
Yep, product of the environment. That's good. And you came up through the little A's, that's right?
I did, yes, I did, yeah.
Yep. And in high school, you were pretty much you were making state cross country teams, is that right?
Yeah, I made state cross country teams I think since I was 11 years old, and started doing the track ones once they came around. But yeah, as I say, like I was never a standout. Like I was probably second or third in the state every year at best, and I think one year I came like 15th or something at nationals. But other than that, I was usually kind of like mid-pack, 70 or something like that, and just having fun, happy to be there. Until I was probably under 18s, under 20s, and started to kind of pick up some more national level medals and get a little more into the sport. Yeah,
okay. And that's when you sort of came to the attention of the overseas college scholarship system. So tell us about how you went from performing at high school to jumping on a plane and heading to New York. How did that all come about?
Yeah, so I think really for me it was year 11, the end of the year. I did the nationals in December, and I came third in the 3K and fourth in the the 1500. And that was that was the first time I'd won a national medal. And I think after that started to get maybe a little bit of interest from a few schools, and just realised that was a possibility for me. And then the following year, I was second at the junior nationals in the steeplechase, and just kind of all happened from there. And I guess once I was getting national medals and coaches were looking at the Australian system, I got contacted by a few coaches, and I was pretty overwhelmed just to even think about it being a possibility to go over to the States. I only knew a couple of people who'd done it or who were over there, and I ended up getting a bit of help and trying to sort through the system a little bit. But even so, I really had no idea, and I ended up picking a school kind of based on where it was. I've been to New York before. I liked New York, and I felt like if I went somewhere that I liked, if running didn't go well, I'd still be in a cool place, and I'd still like the school I was at and have a good academic place to be at too. So that's why I chose New York and St. John's University to start with.
Yep. Were you asking around the other kids at that stage, like, are you guys getting emails and phone calls from colleges, or were you the only one that you knew of at that time?
I think I did discuss a little bit with a few others, but being from SA, like I was like kind of the best in SA, and there weren't too many other I guess girls who were running around my level. But then there were tons from like Victoria, New South Wales, but I didn't really know them as well, because I just didn't kind of cross paths as much and hadn't been on teams with them. So I was a little bit kind of unknown, I guess, to it all. And it's funny to look back on now and be like, wow, I really didn't know anything about what I was doing, and just signed up and said yep, and hopped on a plane and went over there. And it's pretty crazy to look back on now.
Yeah. And you said you'd been to New York before. Was that your folks doing the marathon, or?
No, I just been on a holiday. I just been to America with my parents when I was like 13 or 14. Okay. And just been to New York, and I watched Gossip Girl and movies and stuff, and I felt like it was a cool place.
Yeah, it is a cool place.
It is, it is.
Yeah. So we're going to start working through your little chapter over there in the college system. Now, as you mentioned, you went to St. John's there. You're pretty much continuing running in the steeple and the cross country. Mm-hmm. You became the Big East champion when you ran 10:23.98. You broke 2 school records while you were there, one being when you ran 10:10.88 at the NCAA East prelims, mm-hmm. and the other being when you ran 9:45.55 in the indoor 3,000 metres.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about that period when you first went over there, and what, I guess, how you perceived you were running, and what your running goals were at that time, short and in the years to come, and also how you were sort of coping with that environment of being an overseas athlete over there in that college system.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, so when I went to America, it was kind of like I probably would have stopped running competitively if I hadn't have gone over. So it was kind of like, all right, yeah, I'll keep running. I'll get a scholarship, pay for my college for the next 4 years. That's pretty cool. And then like we'll see how we go. So going to America and like it was just everything was so overwhelming when I first got there. Like I didn't realize there was no men's team actually at St. John's. It was just a women's team. They'd cut the men's team a few years ago, and so that was like, okay, cool, just a women's team, all right. But yeah, it was just everything was new, like just living on campus, eating at the dining hall, like so many things to adjust to, the practice times and everything we did, and the weather. It was the coldest winter they'd had in New York for 80 years. So I really struggled with the weather for the first winter, like getting up and having class at 7:30 in the morning, and it was like minus 17 outside, and just walking to class thinking like, this is crazy, like I'm so cold. And I remember just doing runs and like my eyelashes just being like stuck together with like icy snow, and just like being like, oh my gosh, like this is so painful, like how do people do this? And also at St. John's we didn't have an indoor track, so we'd go on like a bus into the city to the Armory and run on the Armory track in Manhattan. But a lot of the time when it was like pretty bad weather, we would just do, I'd actually run around the like hallway of the basketball stadium. So it was probably about 200 meters, probably even less. And I'd just do like 70 laps, like, and I'm talking like literally a hallway, like people walking through the hallway, or like run up and down stairs, or like run on the treadmill. Didn't do as much treadmill running as I, like looking back at it now, I'm like, why don't we just run the treadmill? But yeah, so it was pretty hard to like actually do the training, and it had to be like adjusted a lot, I guess, to like the weather and stuff. And also I was pretty much like homesick for the first 3-4 months, like crying every day, like calling my parents being like, I miss you so much, like this is so hard. But I think I felt really supported to know that like I was giving it a go and I could go home if I wanted. But I think like knowing that I wasn't necessarily stuck there for 4 years if I wanted to be, that was kind of good. But luckily I made some really good friends, and I started to feel like, you know, it was coming a second home. But yeah, running was kind of like, I was just happy to be doing what I was doing, and I started breaking school records, and that was pretty cool. I mean, saying that, I mean, 9:45 is not really a super strong 3K time. But yeah, it was still cool at the time to feel like I was, you know, writing the history books there. But after a while, I did start to feel like I was a big fish in a small pond, and that's kind of how I'd felt in Adelaide. So when I came back for my second year, I kind of had to really think about my goals and what I wanted to get out of running. And over that first year, I think my running goals had gotten a little more serious, and I realized that actually I'd moved to America because of running. So if I really wanted to give it a go, I probably needed to challenge myself a little more. And that's when I decided to think about transferring schools. So as much as I loved living in New York, it was just a fantastic experience. I can't even explain how much fun I had there. It's like exploring the city, watching New York City Marathon. Like it was just unreal to travel around and you know, see all the East Coast and go to the Ivy League schools. And yeah, it was just so much fun. But really to put it simply, I just needed more of a challenge. I was the best on the team there. I didn't really feel like the coach there was able to kind of shape me into the athlete that I wanted to be. So I started looking at other schools, and the University of Washington was one of those schools. And quite quickly, I contacted them, and before I knew it, the next March I was over in Seattle. So, yeah.
So at the end of your first year, do you head back home during that break? Is that what you normally do, like in between those years? Yep.
Yeah. So in the after my freshman year, I made the NCAA prelims, so like the first round, but I think I was just 2 or 3 spots off making nationals for the steeple. So I ran 10:10, really pleased at that time, but didn't quite get me to nationals. And then I came home in June until August, September, and then back to America. And then I was only back in New York from August till December, and then I came back home to Adelaide, packed up everything for good, and then when I went back to America in March 2016, I was off to Seattle.
I've heard you discuss it. You may not want to keep talking about it, but you ended up there was a few loops you actually had to get through before you get over to Washington.
Yeah,
Due to
absolutely.
St. John's sort of
Worth it.
not wanting to let you go. So yeah, just quickly talk about that.
I think I think it's actually quite interesting though, because you kind of think, why would that happen? But essentially, I wanted to transfer. My coach was like, "Yep, sure, like I understand," but then the athletic department were like, "No, you can't just pack up and leave that easily." So pretty much they can do is
especially
say,
when you're the best runner there, they don't really want to lose
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They kind of want to make an example that you can't just like leave that easily. And I guess they feel like they've invested in you, so they want to kind of hold on to you if they can. But essentially, they can't make you stay. They can just say, we're not allowing you to compete for another college for a year. So they can put kind of like a block on you. Okay. So I did an appeal, and I had like this like tribunal like video chat call with like 12 people from St. John's, and luckily I won that appeal, and that meant that I was able to freely start at Washington and compete for Washington as soon as I wanted. If I'd lost that appeal, all that would have meant is that I could have gone to Washington and I could have started classes, I could have been training with the team, but I couldn't have actually put on a jersey and competed for them for another year.
Right, yeah. So is there someone representing you during that tribunal, or you just have to...
Luckily my mum's a lawyer, so she helped me.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty much, she helped me write like kind of my appeal, and then it was just myself on the video, with like 12 people that I had to kind of like present to. So it was pretty tough, but definitely learned a lot from it, and I was very grateful once I got to Washington that I was able to compete and just get straight into it.
And why not Oregon? I mean, the history and depth there is crazy.
Actually, I did look at Oregon. When I was kind of looking, it was like, Pac-12, the conference, was a really strong distance conference. Yep. So I was looking at those schools, and it was kind of like Oregon, Washington, and Colorado. I've been reading Running with the Buffaloes, the book, and I was kind of like interested in going to Colorado as well. But I knew that their coach, Mark Wetmore, doesn't really approve of foreigners being in the NCAA system. So I was kind of like, well, that's probably a no-go, being Australian. And then Oregon, obviously such an amazing history, very cool school and like grounds and everything. But they didn't have any steeplechasers at the time around the mark. I think I would have been looking at when I looked at it, like their fastest steeplechaser at the time. In saying that, there actually was a couple of girls there the next year, so it would have been okay. But I think just looking at it, I was kind of like, there's not really anyone around the mark that's going to be pushing me in that event. So, I decided to go somewhere where there are a few more people in my event group and a few more, distance runners there. And also Washington was kind of regarded as a better academic school, which was also important to me as well.
Yep. So there's University of Washington and there's Washington State, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
That 3,000 steeple PB that you ran in Eugene, Oregon, back in 2016, was that on the the famous old Hayward Field that's now been ripped up?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was there. Yeah, very cool place to run, and like I remember that race being just amazing because it was pretty much like not a dual meet. There was like 4 schools, but it was pretty much myself and my teammate Charlotte racing these 2 Oregon girls, and we went 1-2, and it was kind of like it was pretty cool to beat the Oregon girls on their home track. But amazing stadium, like amazing atmosphere, and like just grandstand packed full of people. And even though they weren't cheering for me, it was still pretty cool to be in that kind of environment. Yeah,
it was such tradition and history there. You've obviously seen it when it's been rebuilt for the Worlds next year. It looks incredible, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've only seen like pictures on Instagram and videos and stuff, but it looks amazing. It's kind of sad to the old grandstand was so like I guess just special, but they've done a really good job.
Yeah. I heard Ollie Hoare mention on a podcast recently that he was hoping to get a piece of that track, but I don't think it was going to happen when they ripped it up. But because he won that the NCAA 1500s there, so I guess it was pretty special for him.
Definitely, I was lucky. I got to do one 10K nationals there back in 2017, I think it was. Yeah, 2017.
Yeah.
18.
I wonder if Pre's family sort of, I mean, they really should build the whole lane one, 400 metres of it around the family home. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? I'm sure there's a lot of people who want a piece of it, but yeah,
definitely.
really looking forward to that. We'll chat about the Worlds soon. Let's just talk about, obviously we're talking about the athletic career, but obviously you've got all your studies. I'm just wondering, I guess it's easy if you can just run us through how your day looked like when you're over there. I mean, because it must have been hectic. Obviously it's very competitive over there. A lot of
Yeah,
pressure, in the class
yeah,
and on the track. So yeah, just tell us
definitely.
how the day works.
Yeah, and just back on that, like when I first went to Washington, I was like eighth on the team. Like it was very competitive. Like we were all kind of working for that spot to get like on that top seven for cross country, and yeah, everything was competitive. Every training, every race, and
Yep.
yeah, even studying, trying to get a high GPA. And the women's distance team was known as being, a pretty high achieving bunch of ladies, and we're all working hard in the classroom as well as on the track. So yeah, very busy. The usual day would probably be would meet at 8 a.m. for practice, and that would take like maybe till 10:30. We might do run, then gym, could be there until 12:30, and then have a shower quickly. Lucky to have facilities all very close together, so that makes it pretty easy. And then straight off to class, maybe until 5-6 o'clock. And then lucky to have a dining hall just for the athletes where we'd go for dinner. Pretty early. It was open at 4:30 until 7:30. So usually an early dinner and then home to do study, go to bed and do it all again. Some days I'd double, but most of the time it was just kind of that bigger chunk of training in the morning, like a track session and then straight into the gym, something like that. 4 hours in the classroom at most. And we were lucky that we could kind of stack that around our practice time. So we'd get given, like, our academic advisor would work with our practice schedule and then would kind of like fit our classes if we could, around practice, so that we didn't often have that many clashes. There was always, a semester or something where you might have to miss practice because you had to do a specific class, at a time that didn't suit. But most of the time it worked pretty well.
So obviously, by the time you become a senior, you're probably used to that system. But at first, it must be a little bit overwhelming to deal with.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. And especially when you're like, you're young and you have to just like look out for yourself more and like think about, fueling, washing your clothes, like, I don't know, all those little things that maybe at
yeah,
home your parents helped you with.
yeah,
But yeah, again, super lucky. Like the amount of support I got at Washington, especially, we had our laundry done for us. We had dinner provided for us. We had snacks provided for us. Like there were masseuses there and athletic trainers when you needed them. So it wasn't hard to be successful and be organized because you had a lot of support, really every day to try and help you be the best version of yourself.
I've got the Huskies .com site up here, and it's actually really good. You'd obviously know it, but you
Yeah.
can pull up an athlete's bio, and
Hmm.
it's got some great info on there, and obviously it goes through all the different the years that you're over there. So I'm just going to read from 2019. The NCAA, you picked up third there in the 10,000 metres, becoming All-American. We'll talk about that soon. You won the 2019 Pac-12 for the 10,000 metres,
Hmm.
which is absolutely huge, and we'll talk about all this. And in the 5,000 metre indoors, the All-American second team. So that's pretty impressive. So let's just talk about this All-American. All-American is basically you finish in the top 8, you make the final, yeah?
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. In cross country, it's the top 40. So it's like
Top
if you come
40.
top
Okay, I was
40.
going to ask that. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
my best finish at cross country was like 110th. I never nailed cross country over there. It was so hard.
Yep.
But yeah, for cross country, it's like, you've got 300 people in a race and top 40 get All American. Um, so that's like a pretty big chunk of people, really.
Yep.
But then on the track, it's top 8 are first team All American, and then like
Yep.
if you're 8th to 16th, you're like second team All American. So
Gotcha.
I think I came
Yep.
12th in the indoor 5K and 12th at nationals in the 10K, my first time around. And like they're like second team All American honors, but really like no one really cares unless you come. Like I don't really think it should be all American unless you come like first team. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
kind of like try and hand out all these awards, like second team All American, like first team All
Yeah.
American, like all Big East, all Pac-12, like all region.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And you're running. I was just looking at the times there. You're pretty much running low to mid 33s when you're making those finals.
yeah, it's a bit like strange because I ran 32:20 at the start of the season, my first 10K, massive PB, school record, like awesome. And kind of same for the 5K. And then the rest of the season, it starts just to be pretty much just like championship racing, and you're racing every second weekend. So, yeah, it turned into like, if I was in 32 shape, we were actually racing in like 33 mid, because they were just more like tactical races, and we were racing like kind of back to back each week. So a bit annoying because like, you want to run like PBs, but it's not really kind of the place to do it.
Well, it's definitely good to pick up that All-American and that third in NCAA in your final year. I mean, that's a bit of relief more than anything, yeah.
It was absolutely incredible. And like, I guess the backstory in that is it's like so hard to make outdoor nationals. You have to go to regionals, you have to make regionals with a time, and then the top 12 from the West and the top 12 from the East make the nationals, which is a field of 24. So yeah, it's really hard to make. And like, I made it for the first time in 2017 for the 10K. I came 10th at regionals and then 12th at nationals. And I was just so stoked to be there, like over the moon, amazing. But I did like finish that race going like, oh, I want to get on the podium, one day. And the next time around would be in 2019 after I had some injuries. And to come third was just like a dream come true to finish, All-American on the podium, like get third place. It was really like that fairy tale ending that I couldn't have pictured it being better than that.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have to dip the line to get third, or were you clear, or how did the race go?
Actually, no. There was the girl in fourth was like really quite close to me, probably like 5 meters behind me. So it was that was quite a battle there. But the girl who won was always going to win it. Wayne Kaladi. I think she's run like 14:57 now and like 31 low. So she's really good. She runs for Under Armour now. A friend of mine, Carmela, who runs for Oregon, she kind of came out of nowhere and got second. So really, she had the race of the day on that one, and I was just kind of like, running in for third and watching it happen in front of me.
And this Pac-12, the Western Conference, which is considered probably the strongest conference in the States. Pac-12 being Pac-Pacific, isn't it? And 12 being the strongest, I guess, most dominant universities in that area, and you won that. I was just looking also the history of Pac-12, just University of Oregon. I think is it the men's team that have won like 13 consecutive Pac-12s?
Yeah, they're always podium.
Why are they so strong? I mean,
they just have
the best runners want to actually go there, or
best runners want to go there. They've got such a strong history. The people just like flood there, and I think there's that like kind of magic of like running for Oregon and being part of that team. It's just so competitive to get on. That they've really kind of got the pick of a good pick of people. Yeah.
I was even looking at the football team. They pretty much clean up as well, so they're very strong university.
Yeah, they're definitely a massive sporting school. Very strong.
So how did the Pac-12 win? How did that race go?
Oh, that was amazing. Like I knew I was fit, and I knew that like I was capable of getting the win. But it was a hard race. It was at a slight altitude. And the girls I was racing against, they were from altitude. They were from Colorado. And I was kind of like, this is going to be a bit harder because I'm not used to altitude. But
was it Arizona?
It was at Arizona, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not quite as high as like Colorado, but it was still like you can still definitely feel it in the air. But yeah, it was kind of a race. I just kind of like a bit more like Zatopek, where I just kind of sat in the pack for the first half, wanted to be really comfortable, and then I think it was like 2 miles out or 2Ks out, like I just really started to wind it up the last 8 laps, 2 miles out, and just really closed hard and pretty comfortably got the win. But I was really happy with that race, and that was a really big deal for me. Like I'd never won a big race like that before, and it was kind of crazy because we had these like thunderstorms happening, and I didn't actually race until like 12:45 p.m. Like at night. So my race was scheduled for like 9:30, and then like we had to wait like a few hours. So it was a little bit like I had to kind of really be like quite relaxed about that. Usually I like to kind of stick to my schedule and I eat at a certain time and I'm all ready to go. So to kind of have to like just like sit around and wait and see like when the race will happen, that was hard for me, but I kind of persevered and was really proud of how I raced.
Obviously, there's been a lot of successful Aussies that have come through that US college system over the years. You know, Paddy Tiernan, Dave McNeil, Morgan McDonald, Jess Hull, yourself, Ollie Hall. You know, there's probably a lot of crash and burn stories that we don't really hear about. Were there any other Aussie girls over there at that time who were really struggling to fit into that system and to perform?
Yeah, I know there are a few. Like I knew Anna Lamar was over at Stanford at the time, and I don't think she had probably the best time that she might have expected. Yeah, and there were others, but it's just it's one of those systems that it kind of works or doesn't for you, and it's really hard to it's a hard system, and it works for some people and it doesn't work for other people, and that's just I guess the way it is.
Yeah. So if you had to give, like, if someone came up to you and say, look, I'm thinking about going over there, what sort of advice would you be giving them?
Yeah, like I think that it's such a great opportunity to go over, and like I loved my time over there, even though I had like lots of ups and downs. But I would just say like think about what your priorities are and whether academics or running is more important, because academically it probably is easier to stay back in Australia and like get the degree that you want to get and move into the field that you want to work in. But quite frankly, athletically, Australia can't offer the same opportunities that the college system does. I think just like knowing where you're going, knowing the team you're going to, like having a good relationship with the coach you're going to work with, they're all really important things. And just like, being aware of like what you're in for and weighing up the pros and cons. But all in all, I think it's a fantastic experience, and I'm really pleased that I made the most of it and I went over there. And I think that if I hadn't have gone, I wouldn't be the runner I am today. So
what did you actually study?
So I did psychology, and
Okay,
I did my undergraduate and honours degree there, and now I'm doing combined masters and PhD in clinical psychology back here in Adelaide. I did my honours thesis on mindfulness, and I definitely like tend to use that in running and just like on a day-to-day basis. But yeah, sometimes I can overthink things, and like too much can be an issue too. But I think having an awareness about your mental state is only helpful, really.
So 2019, awesome final year at college. Actually, we should discuss, as much as they suck, there was injuries, and there was a season you had to be redshirted for, and that's pretty much why you got that extension in that fifth year. So let's chat about that. Let's talk about the bad times.
My worst injury was broke my navicular and 3 metatarsals in a cross country race, and like didn't run for like 4 months, was in a boot on crutches, like just terrible time.
So what year was this?
That was end of 2017, and then so into 2018 as well. Yeah, that was probably the worst, and like I had to redshirt the track season, indoors and outdoors. But then I came back and I ran my PB at the time for 5K and 1500 as well. So it wasn't the worst in the world. I came back from it. But yeah, just after that, I still struggled. Had another metatarsal fracture a year later. And then I did my calcaneus at the end of 2019.
Do you reckon just load running spikes on the track?
I think a combination of like I was wearing shoes that were too small for me. Just the training over there was like pretty intense. I think the problem with the system there is that you're pretty replaceable. Like if you run well, that's great. But then if you don't run well, there's probably 5 other people who want to take your spot. So
Okay.
It's not like they really like need you, if that makes sense. Like because there's just so many people who want to run in these teams. So
Yeah, right.
if you make it, that's great. If you don't, that's fine. We'll find someone else.
When you're feeling a niggle and you'd normally back off, you feel you pretty much have to keep performing to keep that spot.
Yeah, that's it. And like, I don't know, we're probably training too hard for like some of the sessions we were doing. Were probably too hard for like where we were at as like athletes and kind of how we were racing. And also, I mean, we would race every 2 weeks, which is just not normal kind of in the Australian system as we do here. But then I had Marisa Powell, who came from Oregon, and she was my coach for the last 6 months, and she was just amazing. And I feel like if I'd had her as my coach the whole time, I probably wouldn't have had all those injuries and issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just kind of really cared about us as people, and I guess knew the right things to do as a coach as well.
All right. So 19, fantastic. Jump on the plane, come back home to Adelaide, and get hit with a global pandemic. So
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, in hindsight, it was probably good timing to get out of the States and to be back home because, compared to there, we've done reasonably well. What was your initial plan? Like, if the pandemic hadn't hit in 2020, what was your plan with work and running, and then what did you do to get through that hump year?
Yeah, so to be honest, like 2019, 2020 was like a very challenging time for me, and pre-COVID even, because essentially when I came third at nationals in the NCAA, I was running on a broken foot. I just didn't know that yet. So I'd had plantar fasciitis since May in 2019, and I was running through it because I really had this massive goal, to be at nationals and to run as well as I could and try and see if I could make, a professional career out of running. And yeah, nationals, next day after nationals, I couldn't walk. Like, my foot was just so messed up. But I still thought it was just plantar fasciitis. So came back to Adelaide. I was heading off to run for Australia at the World University Games in Napoli in Italy. And so
Okay.
I was kind of like limping around, trying to get a little bit of running done, but just, yeah, really crippled. And went off to Italy, did a 10K. So painful, it just wasn't quite right. Couldn't walk after that. And then I had to not do the 5K. So I was supposed to be going over the 10K and the 5K. Didn't run the 5K. And then I actually got an MRI while I was over in Italy, and they didn't pick anything up for bone stress. And so I had some more treatment over there. And then eventually I was back home in Adelaide in August, got another scan, and I had really badly fractured my calcaneus. And so essentially, yeah, it had plantar fasciitis and it had pulled on my calcaneus and actually broken the bone. And so then in August, it made sense why I'd been in so much pain for the last 2 months, and nothing that I was doing was really working because, yeah, my foot was broken. So at that point there, where, yeah, August 2019, I've just moved home. I've left all my friends and my life that I'd built for the last 4 or 5 years over in America. I come home. I love my family. Glad to be back with my boyfriend, Riley, but it was a really difficult time, just like readjusting to being home, leaving that life behind, and also being so injured and not being able to run. I really thought about quitting running at that stage. And yeah, I'd go back and forth a lot, and I'd cross train hard for a while, and then I'd just be so depressed and so upset about my foot. And even into January, I started to try and run again because I was clear to run. And then I got another scan in January 2020, and it was still actually showing up as being fractured. So it was a really long injury, and it took probably until March 2020 to get that healthy and be back running again.
Yeah, that is tough.
That was tough. And I think, yeah, just being compiled with like, moving home, that was just tricky. But really, I mean, the pandemic, as much as it's been, awful in so many ways for the world, for me, it was kind of good timing to have something that forced me to like take a step back and kind of just like focus on being healthy and being happy.
Yep.
So there was no races on the schedule that I was trying to work to get back for. So I was working really hard to try and get back to run, maybe in 2020, that early track season. And then once everything was cancelled, it was kind of like, oh, okay, like I can take the time that I need to, like there's no rush. And that just worked really well for me because I started to take the pressure off myself and just do things because I enjoyed them. And slowly, my foot started to heal, and I was working with a podiatrist and doing all the right things. And I ended up having a really good domestic winter season, doing cross country, doing some road races in Adelaide. And yeah, things just started to click. And eventually I had almost a year of healthy training under me. And then I, started running some really fast times last year. And I can just only put that down to consistency of training, really, because I hadn't had consistent training for more than 6 months ever before.
Adelaide Road Championships, State Championships. Yeah, you won that 32-37.
Yeah.
So that's good. And yeah, like you said, it continued on with some good results. 10,000 on the track there, 32-13
Yeah.
at the States again. Yeah, that 5,000 metre time trial at the night time, 15:41. Who got you there?
Actually, Rose Davies. Yeah, she came over
Okay.
for to race that one. It was pretty terrible conditions, and she ran I think 15:30 something, and she closed really well in the last 2K. Yeah, and I just kind of didn't really have the wheels that night. But then a couple of weeks later, I ran 15:26, so it was there. It was just not the right night for me.
It's so good to be able to come out of that dark hole and to be able to perform again.
And it wasn't, especially too, I think you mentioned before, which I didn't actually answer, but essentially I'd finished my degree in America, but I was having this issue where it wasn't getting recognised back in Australia. So I was hoping to do my master's in psychology, and I couldn't actually apply to do that because they weren't recognising my undergraduate honours degree. So I had to do another appeal and tribunal kind of interview thing. And luckily I won that and got my degree recognised. And now I am doing my master's and PhD back here. But for that kind of year, I'm living at home. I worked in a cafe for a little while. I was volunteering at a school. Like I was doing a few different things, but not really. I was pretty all over the place. So that was tough too, not really knowing what I was doing.
2022, we got the Worlds over there at Eugene, Oregon, which would be insane. But let's hope we got our shit together by then. And then the Com Games in Birmingham. Now that they're pretty much a week apart, is there a chance that yourself or other athletes are able to do both?
Yeah, so I have thought about that and wondered, but I guess like if you're running a marathon, you can't do both. So we're going to have 3 different people at the Worlds and 3 different people in the Com Games. But really anything 10K down, you're going to see probably the same or similar teams. So, I mean, with a 10K being a straight final at, championships, it wouldn't be crazy to think that you'd do one 10K and then do a 10K 3 weeks later or 2 weeks later. I've done that before plenty of times. With the 5K, I'm not sure. It's a lot to do 4 5Ks in the same space as 2 or 3 weeks. But again, it's not unheard of. But I think that definitely those like 800, 1500 places are probably going to be the same people. The 5 and 10 could be like a bit of a mix. And the marathon, I mean, I think you'll see a totally different team. So it'll be very interesting to see because there are definitely more spots on teams up for grabs in the coming year. Yeah. Yeah,
because the Worlds are July 15 to 24th, and then the Coms are July 28 to August 8. So I guess it depends on how far into those meets or events on.
Yeah, obviously I haven't seen the schedule for them. I'm not quite sure the exact time between each event, but I think that there's definitely the ability to run 2 championships for an event like 10 or the 5. So it'd be interesting to see. I mean, I'll be so overjoyed to make one of those teams or both. So I'll just have to see what happens, I guess.
And you've got the Australian Track and Field Championships coming up in Sydney in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'll be at Sydney. I think I'll jump in for a 3K there. There's a national 3K on at the Australian Championships, so I'll have a run in that. And then I guess after that we'll see whether it's a 10K or a 5K and go from there.
If you had to pick one, would you like to lean towards the 10?
Such a hard question, honestly. Until March 2nd, I really thought I was not a 5K runner. So I think now I definitely feel that I am a 5K runner. I still do think I'm going to be stronger in that 10K distance over the next few years. So I think that's where I've got more room to grow as a runner, and as I look towards the roads in the coming years. But look, if I make the team for either one of those events, I'll be over the moon. So
you'll be stoked.
I'll be excited to race either one of those.
What about the longer road distances, halves and full marathons? Are they sort of on the list for the years to come, or?
Yeah, and I think that like if I hadn't have run so well in the 5K this year, I would have been more kind of looking towards the road sooner. Now I feel like I've got a few more years in me on the track. and I really want to work on lowering that 5K and 10K time down. But the marathon and the roads really excite me, and I'm looking forward to exploring them more in the coming years too. And at 25, I feel like I've got another 10 or so years of good running ahead of me, so plenty of time to work towards those distances.
Yeah. I guess try and pick up some Aussie singlets for the shorter ones first.
Yeah,
With these majors coming up.
Yeah.
It's no use rushing it. Like you said, you're still pretty young. So
Exactly. Yeah.
now let's talk about your business that you co-founded with your partner Riley Cox, Run as One. That running coaching business. It looks like it's just exploded. Looking at the Instagram pictures. Tell us about the idea behind all that. And basically, I guess what the business profile around all that is.
Yeah, so I think for me, like having Marisa as a coach in my last 6 months in college really showed me how powerful having a good coach who believes in you is, and how powerful like a good environment and culture around you is to be a successful athlete. And I really also liked just having a female coach. So I thought that was really quite powerful as a female runner. And so coaching has always been something that I've been interested in. But I thought it might come a bit later in my career. In COVID, Riley, my partner, just started to help his boss, Scott. Riley's a physio. He was just helping Scott work towards some events and, look at a marathon and do some ultras. And my mum was running with Scott, and then, we started to kind of help them and plan sessions for them. And then it became, so-and-so wants to come out, and the next week, can so-and-so come out? And suddenly we had 5 or 10 people. A couple of weeks later, we had 20 people. And then we decided we wanted to open it up and, make it more of a thing. If people wanted to join in, they could. So we came up with the name. I came up with Run as One because our whole ethos was really about getting people to run together, no matter what level they were at. So if they were running, at our pace, or if they were running 30 minutes of 5K, it didn't matter. We were welcoming anyone into the group. So that's kind of where the name came from.
Yeah.
And then, so really didn't start until this was like May, June last year when we first started. And then I didn't name the business or really like make an Instagram or a website until August last year. And then now we've got over 120 runners on our list. And at sessions, we have probably 70 people on average out at sessions. And,
wow.
I can usually name 20 people that are missing just because of, kids, work, injury, whatever, can't make it, slept in. And then we've got maybe 10 or 15 people who we coach remotely, whether they're in rural SA or they can't make the sessions because of work, or I've got a couple up in Queensland, Gold Coast, Geelong, Melbourne. So, big community. And, as you said, it really has exploded. And I think it's nice because it happened so organically for us. We never really had a business plan or, an idea of what it was going to turn into. So it's been a massive learning experience and just kind of going with the flow and just making things up as they come along. And we're definitely spending a lot more time on it now that it's grown so much, and it requires, more time and effort and planning. We do a time trial kind of fun event every 4 to 6 weeks. We had one yesterday. They're always good fun. See people get PBs, run together, that kind of thing. But everything we do, takes a lot of time to put together. So, we love it so much. So it's so powerful, especially for me as a runner. I put so much work in behind the scenes that no one really sees, but I've got this whole community now that really care about me. They all tune into the live stream with their families, with their partners at home. They're sending me messages before my race, after my race. And I think that's just it's incredibly powerful to feel so supported by people. And I know that no matter what I do, if I run 15 minutes or 20 minutes, they'll be proud of me. And that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. And you guys have a set session every day, like a place that you meet, or?
Yeah, so the group meets twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. And then we often do a group long run as well, probably every second week. It's just 2 sessions a week. And then we write an individualized program for everyone in the group. So depending on their schedule and their goals, they might run every day. They might run 3 days a week, or even 2 days a week.
You got the merch done up yet, or you haven't got that far yet?
No, we've got singlets and t-shirts and hats. So, and working towards more things. But yeah, it's been good, and it's pretty cool to go out to events now and see people wearing their Runners One tops, and you go out to parkrun and you see people in their Runners One hats and tops, and yeah, it's a real community that's growing, which is really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, no, well done, fantastic. And your partner Riley, he's running PBs at the moment himself. You guys are a good duo, 5s and 10 PBs. Apparently he's planning on running his first marathon. Is that right?
Yeah. So you might have heard that Athletics Australia are putting on this marathon in Sydney in April. It was really only kind of like whispers and rumours for a while, and it's only been really kind of confirmed in the last couple of weeks. But when Riley heard about that, he just thought, may as well jump in. Like, he's always wanted to be into the longer stuff, and just give it a go, see what happens.
He picked up his first Aussie singlet for the Half Worlds, but that didn't go ahead due to COVID. So
that was so disappointing. Like, honestly, such a big milestone for him. Like, to make that kind of team. I was so sad for him that it didn't go ahead, but I know that there's plenty more in the tank for him.
No, definitely. No, it'd be interesting to see how it goes. Hopefully he goes well. It's sub 230 men, isn't it? And sub 250 women, I believe, out there at the Penrith Rowing Centre, I think, the Regatta Centre.
Yeah, and look, if he does it, he's not going to be going for necessarily trying to bump anyone out for the Olympic qualifying. He's just going to be doing it.
It's
just more
first one.
Where he is. Like, I mean, quite frankly, it's 5 weeks marathon training's not all that much time to really get after it. But you've got to take the opportunities that come up.
It'd be interesting to see if there's any guys that can actually grab one of those spots, because they're going to have to be moving pretty well on the day.
Yeah.
They better hope they get perfect conditions.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. People have got a lot of different opinions on it.
I'm wondering if one of the 3 guys have already got that spot will even bother doing it just to protect it, or just to have a hit out.
It's probably too soon before the Olympics to run well there. And the Olympics, it's only 14 weeks, but see what happens. Be interesting to see.
Well, I assume they'll live stream it, so we should be able to watch it.
Yeah. But Riley's been doing really well. Like, he has had a goal for the last 6 years to break 14 minutes for 5K, and he ran 13:50 last week in the B race. So he's stoked, and we've been kind of doing our own thing since November last year. He's been coaching himself with the help of a few other mentors. So it's been really impressive to see what he's been able to do as a coach, and also personally in his own running. Yeah,
for sure. And being physio, do you ignore, or do you take his advice when he says that you should be doing certain exercises?
I take his advice. I try and get a few calf massages out of him, but that doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Yep.
But I mean, since November, he's been essentially coaching me now with the help of Nick Batt-Doyle, who's my manager, and helping us with some track sessions. But I do listen to Riley, and I think that as a physio and a runner, and being a student of the sport for so long, he does have so much to offer, and he knows so much. So as much as sometimes I get frustrated by him, I do trust most of the things he says and take his advice when he gives it.
Yeah, for sure. It's always different when it's coming from your partner.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Izzy, look, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for giving up your time today.
No worries. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's been great. All the best for all the races coming up. Hopefully you can find Olympic qualifying time somewhere to get to Tokyo.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, fingers crossed.
But otherwise, I'm pretty sure you're going to be picking up a lot of Aussie singlets for some major champs in the years to come. There's a long way to go for Izzy, I think. So yeah, all the best. Can I work a link over to your socials and over to that Runners One?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Of course. I'm pretty active on Instagram and Strava, so feel free to follow along. Yeah,
I'll chuck it all on there. But all right, awesome. I'll let you go. Thank you very much, Izzy.
All right, have a great rest of the day. Cheers.
Cool. Thank you. Okay.
Right,
bye.